Just in case before getting into this video, spoiler warnings, it's really worth watching the movie. So without further ado, let's get into this. Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about Thunderbolts / the new Avengers, a movie that I had a ball watching. So let's not waste any time and let's get into the breakdown. First and foremost, the Thunderbolts, the team, a fantastic lineup. I love all those characters. And maybe I was on the fence with one or two, but they won me over in this flick. We get a much better John Walker, U.S. agent. He's never called that here. I think he even calls himself Captain America during the movie. We get a fantastic characterization of one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters. I really love U.S. Agent. Then we have Red Guardian, who is the comic relief, but also is a very compelling character, a person very fixated on their past, a person who's trying to deal with many of his shortcomings and trying to be there for his daughter, Yelena. Then we have Yelena Belova, the second Black Widow, whom I thought she was okay in the Black Widow flick and when she popped up in the Hawkeye series, but here, she is the central character. She is literally going through a existential crisis, and like, in general, this movie does revolve around mental health and depression. I feel like the director really did a killer job trying to convey this message in general. And then we have Bucky, who I feel like they're doing some course correction from what happened in Captain America Brave New World, which I haven't seen yet. He's probably the only member on the team that has already dealt with the sins of his past and has tried to move on. Then we have Ghost, who probably is the only character on the roster who we really don't dive into too much, and she comes off to be much more interesting than how she was in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie. And then we have Taskmaster, who is on the poster as one of the members of the team. He gets killed off really early on. The scene where it happens, it really works. Like, it doesn't feel wasted. And at the same time, I was pretty happy that they got rid of this version of Taskmaster because I really hated it. It's going to have a great deal of impact for Yelena further down the line in this movie. Then we have Bob, who's sort of on the team and not. We'll get into that a little bit later, but Marvel could have totally screwed this character up. Like, if you know anything about Bob from the comic books, they could have ruined everything on this. And they really dive into some really dark stuff about Bob's past that they didn't shy away from, that sort of caught me by surprise in a good way. For side characters, there's actually not too many of them. Like, you have like this one congressman that's working with Bucky, and then you have Valentina's secretaries, and they're just okay. They're just sort of there to move the plot. Now, the villains. I feel like they did a fantastic job with the villains. First, you have Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, a super sketchy version of Nick Fury. She's the director of the CIA. She's under investigation because she's doing some really dark stuff, and she sets out to cut off all the loose ends and get rid of anything that can incriminate her, especially all of her Black Ops operatives. And that's basically the main premise of the movie that gets everything started. Basically, all the members of the Thunderbolts were sent to this place to kill each other off. They end up forging an alliance to get out of this death trap, and then we have the whole situation with the Sentry. So then we go to the second main villain of this story, which is the Sentry / the Void. And I have to say that they killed it with Sentry / Void. The characterization of one of Marvel's most powerful characters is just spot on. Even though the development of the evolution between Bob to the Sentry felt a little rushed, like that's one of the very few shortcomings that this movie has. When the Sentry evolves and changes into the Void, it's masterful. Like, the Void is really scary, very intimidating. And the third act that we get when the Thunderbolts go up against the Void, they get pretty creative, and I feel like they do a really good job. So there you have the basic idea of the plot. You have Valentina trying to kill off all of her operatives to discover Bob. Bob is later co-opted by Valentina and converted into the Sentry, and then the Sentry just goes AWOL. The action looks really great in this movie. There's not one scene that I thought to myself, that looks like shit, or that looks too staged. The special effects in general, they did a pretty good job. Maybe My only nitpick is that the movie was a little too dark. I'm not sure if it's a thing that was going on with my theater, but there was moments that I was struggling to see or understand what was going on, especially in the beginning part of the movie when they're in that base, that death trap base. There are a couple moments that I went, "Holy shit, that was awesome!" Especially when the Void battles against the Thunderbolts. You get that feeling that the shit hit the fan there. Now, for the bad of the movie, I would have to say that there's nothing too terrible. Like I've mentioned a couple of things, they're mostly nitpicks. Maybe in the third act, when the Thunderbolts are battling against Sentry in the streets, oh, not Sentry, the Void, in the streets of New York City, they're literally fighting just on one street. I can understand that, yes, the battle's going to be focalized in one point, but you get the impression that they only got permission to shoot on one street, or they can only simulate on the stage one street. So it feels like they had budget issues there. They ran out of money. But this movie has a lot of heart. It hits you in the feels in a couple of moments. It touches on a pretty serious subject. The humor doesn't undercut any of the dramatic scenes. So I'm going to give this movie a stupid score of 29, just above Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. Bye.